Hey guys, this is Rachel Carmona with Cypress Textiles, and today we're going to be making the New York square from the 2020 Vibrant Vintage Crochet Along, or VVCAL. I'm going to be using Color Crafter yarn and a size 4.25 millimeter hook. So let's get started. First we're going to make a slip knot and then chain 3. And go into the third chain from the hook to make a ring. You can also use magic ring. You can chain 4, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I've got my center ring and we're going to go straight into that center ring with a beginning DC. So without chaining up, just go straight into the center ring and make a single crochet. And then chain 1, and that's your first DC of your round. That single crochet chain 1 is the beginning DC in my pattern. So now we're going to make 15 double crochet so that we have 16 total, including the beginning one. All right, so I'm just going to make 16 double crochet and I'll see you guys when I'm finished with that. Alrighty, so I have my 16 double crochet all together now, and I'm going to join the round. So we're going to make a slip stitch in this beginning DC by going into this part of the chain that you made for your beginning DC. So make sure you don't only grab this part, you need to go underneath that part of the loop also and make your slip stitch. And then just make sure your slip stitch isn't super tight over that beginning DC. It needs to lay across it so it looks like the top of the other ones. All right, so now our round is joined and we're ready for the next round. You're going to go straight into the next stitch, not the joining stitch, the next stitch with a beginning DC again. So for round 2, we'll start with beginning DC. Just go straight into that stitch and start with your single crochet. Don't chain 1 before that single crochet. Okay, make your chain. So now you've got your beginning DC, and then you're going to chain 1, and that's going to be a chain space. So when you join, you're going to work into this first chain right here, and then that's going to be a chain space. All right, so now our repeat is going to be chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch. All right, chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch. All right, so I'm going to work like that all the way around. Okay, so I've made all of my 16 double crochet stitches and my chain spaces here. So we're going to close our round. We've got 1 chain on the hook ready to join, and we're going to go into the chain of the beginning DC, just how I said before, with going through both of those bars on the top and just leaving this one on the bottom. And that'll give you a nice secure join without making a giant hole right there. Okay, so we've got our slip stitch going over our beginning DC, and then we're going to work straight into this chain 1 space right here for round 3. So you're going to go into that chain space with a single crochet. Just go straight into the single. And then we're going to make a treble, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this round and make these trebles pop out to the front like tiny little bobbles. You might have worked around like this before, and you can work it from the wrong side to have the bobbles pop out easier, but I'll show you guys kind of a trick to make sure that they pop out at the front without having to turn your work. Okay, so you've got your single crochet and you're about to make your treble. Make sure that you don't have your yarn looking like this whenever you yarn over. It can't be all spaced out like that. It's got to be nice and tight at the top, and not too tight but snug to where you don't have a lot of slack whenever you start pulling your yarn through for your treble. If you do it like this, your treble is going to be really loose. So that's the first tip. Make sure all of your yarn overs are gathered at the front, and then insert your hook. Okay, just pull up your loop like you would normally. So you've got your loops there, no slack, okay, and no giant hole. Everything's coming straight off of that single crochet. That's important. So now you're going to make your treble. So go through 2 loops and keeping everything nice and snug right there. If you went way loose with your yarn overs, you'll see that this doesn't look nice and tight like that. So now draw yarn through 2 loops again. And now these are the last ones. And you're going to kind of see that you can't draw the yarn through the loops without kind of turning your motif a little bit. And that's because the treble crochet is long. but that single is super short. So it kind of makes your treble squat to the side like that, if you can see. So now when you make your next single crochet, you're just gonna move that treble out of the way. And you can already see that it's poking toward the front. So you're just gonna pretend like that treble is just a regular single. Okay, just don't even, just ignore it and squish it to the front like that. Okay, so now you're gonna go into your next chain space with a single crochet and see how everything is still nice and snug right there. If you start pulling everything loose, it's not gonna be neat, and you're gonna not have these bobbles in the front. It's just gonna look kind of messy. So your single crochet, so now you've got, if you look at it from the top, it could just be 3 singles right there and you'd never know. So single, and that's the treble, and then a single. But when you look at it from the front, you can see that treble stitch is squashed out to the front like that. And the reason I'm spending so much time on this is because when I make squares like this, I get asked a lot of questions about how can I make the treble stick out better in the front and things like that. So that's just why I'm taking my time on this round for you guys. So the treble's poking out to the front. I squish it down to make my single, my next single. That's the 2 singles on either side of that treble is what make it turn into a tiny bobble like that. All right, so I'm just gonna continue working this way, and you're making a single crochet and a treble crochet in each chain space around. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate it a couple more times, and then I'm just gonna finish the round. That way you can see how it looks real time. Okay, and if it absolutely ends up being a total mess, you can turn the work and work it from the wrong side. It's just, I like it when these single crochets are facing forward, but to each their own, and you can always sub in a different square from a previous VVCAL if these tiny bobbles are just not your thing. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish out the round making single crochet, treble in each chain space. Okay, so my round is finished, and I have my last treble on the hook right now, and I'm ready to join to my first single crochet. So I'm gonna squish that bobble to the front and then make a slip stitch in my first single. Okay, and then we're gonna make sure that slip stitch lays over the single crochet like that, and then we're going to slip stitch also in that treble. And make sure your slip stitch is not too tight. You don't want to bunch everything up right there. You just want it to float over. So you're trying to move yourself to this next single crochet. So now you're ready to make a single crochet in that next stitch. Okay, so there we are. We joined on this single. We made a slip stitch into the treble, and now we made a single crochet into that single. Now we're going to chain 3. And our repeat is a really simple one. You're just going to chain 3 and single crochet into the next single crochet. You're just going to skip right over the trebles. Okay. So I'll be right back whenever I've done that. Okay, I have one more single crochet to go here, but I wanted to show you it just because we're going to work into the single that has the joining slip stitch in it. So you're not going to work kind of into that slip stitch. You're going to go into the original single crochet itself. So you're just going to go around that that slip stitch join. Okay, so go straight into the single crochet for your final single of the round and chain 3, and you're ready to join. So we're just going to locate that first single and then go ahead and make a slip stitch in it. Okay, so to begin round 5, we're going to slip stitch into the first chain. All right, make sure you grab that leading loop going up there. Okay, make your slip stitch nice and loose, and then single into that chain space. Okay, now we're going to chain 2, single crochet into the next chain space, chain 2, single crochet into the next chain space. All right, so now I've got 2 chain 2 spaces there. Okay, now we're going to chain 2 again. And then we're going to start making puff stitches here. Okay, so we're going to make a yarn over, insert the hook into the chain space, pull up a loop, do that two more times, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop. So you've got total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 loops on your hook for that puff stitch. Okay, then you're gonna yarn over and draw the yarn through all your loops and chain 4. All right, so we'll do puff stitch again in the same chain space. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop 3 times. Okay, now I've got all our 7 loops on the hook here. Yarn over and draw the yarn through all the loops, and your puff stitch is complete. So now you're going to chain 3, and you'll notice that I chained 2 before the puff stitch corner, but I'm chaining 3 afterward. And that's because when you make a puff stitch, it has this beginning part right here that kind of acts like a chain. So I find if you chain your full 3 right here, then it's going to be a really big space, because there's also this little, it's like a faux chain that comes when you make your puff stitch. So you chain 2, it's not a mistake, although it looks like one in all the patterns where I have puff stitch corners. I've always got people telling me. So you chain 2 before the puff stitch corner, you chain 4 in the corner here, and then you chain 3 after. Okay, so now we're going to make single crochet in the next chain space. And now we're back to the beginning of our repeat. So from here, chain 2, single in the next space, chain 2, single in the next space, chain 2 again, and we're ready for a puff stitch corner again. Okay, and I'll show you guys how it's going to start looking here. All right, and I'll be right back as soon as I finish all the way around. Okay, so we're ready to join the round here. We've got 3 chains on the hook and ready to slip stitch into this single crochet. So we're gonna go ahead and make our slip stitch. And now we're ready for the second to last round. We're going to make a beginning DC straight into this chain space right here. So we're gonna jump into a single. You don't need to slip stitch into any chains this time. Jump into a single crochet, chain 1, and now we're gonna make 2 DC into that same chain space. So we made our beginning DC, and now we're making 2 more into that chain space, okay? Then we're gonna chain 1, and then into these next 3 chain spaces, we're gonna make 3 double crochet each. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. 3 doubles in the next chain space, also 3 doubles. And then in the corner, you're gonna make 3 doubles. And then chain 2. That's gonna be our corner chain space. Now make 3 double crochet in this same corner chain space to complete the corner. All right, and now in these next 2 chain spaces, you're gonna make 3 doubles each. So you're only gonna chain 1 in the center of the side. I'll show you in a second. So that's 2 more. Okay, so we've got our corner, and then we've got the 2 more 3 double crochets. And now we're at the center of our side, we're gonna chain 1. Okay, and now we're at the beginning again of this corner part. So we've got 3 double crochet in the next 3 chain spaces. And then here's our corner, the corner one. And then we're gonna chain 2 for our corner. And that's how we're gonna work all the way around our square. You can kind of see how it's taking shape. Alrighty, so we're at the end of the round now. I've got a double crochet on the hook and ready to join into our beginning DC. Okay, so we're gonna go into our beginning DC with the slip stitch. And now we're at our final round. So this round is super easy. We're just gonna make single crochet in all of the stitches, including our chain space. So just single all the way to the corner. And in the corner, you're gonna work 3 singles. And that's how you're gonna work all the way around. Just single crochet in every stitch, and don't forget your center chain space there, and then 3 singles in the corner. All right, so super simple. I'll meet you guys back when I finish the round. All right, guys, so I'm finished with all of my singles and I'm ready to join into the first stitch. So actually I've got one more single to go, but I wanted to show you how you work into the beginning DC with a single. So you're just gonna go into the slip stitch this time. So when it's a double, you work into the slip stitch with your single crochet. All right, and then we're ready to join with the slip stitch. And pull up your long loop. Go ahead and cut your yarn. And on this one, I'm going to show you guys how I weave in that yarn tail. So go ahead and insert your hook back to front through both loops of the stitch to the left of your joining stitch. Then grab your tail, pull it to the back of the work all the way. Okay, so now you've got your slip stitch laying over your single crochet there. And then go from back to front again, but through back loop only of the stitch to the right of your joining stitch. Grab your tail and pull it through to the back. Okay, so now you've created something that is virtually indistinguishable from the rest of the stitches. So now to bury your tail, you're just gonna go back to front through back loop only of each subsequent stitch, pulling your tail to the back each time. Okay, so pull your tail to the back each time, going back to front through back loop only, and pull your tail to the back. And you can just see the tail disappearing. And especially once you work over this yarn tail on your next round, it's going to be encased in there as well. So it's a really just simple way to bury the tail and you can't even see it hardly. And then when you work your next round, you really won't be able to see it because it's going to be in between the stitches. So that is our New York square, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you for the next one. Bye guys.